All right, we are just waiting for a few more attendees to trickle in. Thank you for being here, everybody. We're going to get started in just about a minute. Just want to give everybody a chance to join. If you do miss a part of this, don't worry about it. We will post the highlights later, and of course, you all know how to get in touch with me. So there's no reason to write things down or to take pictures, anything like that. It'll all be made available later. But thank you so much for being here. This is one of the more fun things I get to do as the founder of Move. And I am always excited to do these things. It's just such a great time. Again, none of this would be possible or fun or make any sense if you all didn't join every single time and engage so nicely. So thank you for being here. I'm going to do a quick sound check just to make sure. On the right side of this thing, you should be able to chat with me. You could send me a message. If one or a couple of people could just send over a message making sure they can hear me, that'd be great. I just want to make sure that this thing is in fact working. All right, there you go. I have got a bunch of confirmations. Thank you, everybody. All right, why don't we get started? Oh, look at that, man. You guys really showed up for the sound check. I'm like, wow. All right, we're gonna get started. As if you've been on a couple of these, the past two, what you'll notice is that we tend to have a theme. Each of these has one concept that we really want to talk about. The very first one, the entire focus was the product, what it was that we're trying to build in the first place. The second one was all about equity, and it was all about wanting to do this equity crowdfunding campaign. We introduced the idea back in July and then it getting launched in November. That's, of course, how a lot of you got here. Today, I want to talk about pretty much the only thing we're talking about inside the company right now, which is scale. We have been 100% laser focused inside the company on the concept of scale. This is pretty much all we care about right now. And I want to talk about why that's all we care about. I want to talk about how we're going to get to scale, what kind of progress we've seen already. We're going to get into all of that today. But the topic of today's conversation is exclusively and entirely scale. So let's get started. We're going to be two parts to this. In classic Move fashion, we like to keep things ridiculously simple. There's going to be updates. That'll be from me to you, and then questions from you to me. And we're going to try to move through all of this before Webinar Jam kicks us out. We've got 2 hours here. I'm going to try to do this all in an hour. But if you've heard me talk before, I tend to go long. But anyway, we'll see. Updates and questions. Let's get started with the updates. And before that, I just want to set a context here for why scale is the thing that we're talking about, why I think scale matters, and why I think it matters enough to talk to all of you about it. We are a company, I think they're fundamentally, you could sort of divide all the world of products into two types, products that get better with scale and usage, and products that get worse with scale and usage. A car, to me, is fundamentally, it's a second type of product. The more you use a car, the worse it gets, and it loses value. But we are the type of product, I would say maybe Facebook is another product like this. Some newer cars like a Tesla is kind of like this, where the more you use it, the better it gets. In the case of Facebook, in the case of Tesla or something, it learns from you and it starts to get better that way. And that applies for us too. But the fundamental idea with Move is everything we care about, high quality products, fair prices, convenient, simple delivery, amazing fulfillment, an incredibly ethical supply chain, all of those causes are helped by scale. Move fundamentally is a product that in every single way keeps getting better as we keep getting larger. And that has to do with a few key sort of mathematical factors that are working behind the scenes. But the biggest one is network effects. The way I would explain this really is that when we're sourcing products, kind of two ways to think about it. When we're sourcing products for 5,000 people, like we do right now, the quality of product we can get, the rates we can get are significantly worse than what we're going to be able to get when we have 50,000 members. We're going to be able to source much higher quality products, really invest in the supply chain of the ingredients, in working with the best producers out there. We could really convince at that point anyone to work with us. And we can also get much better rates because the net volume we could drive to a producer is much higher. So there's that one aspect. But the other way in which network effects apply to Move and why scale matters is when you think about it this way. When we have 200 products, every product has whatever value in your life that it does. Let's say olive oil. Olive oil is valuable when you've got 200 products. But when we have 2,000 products and you're able to use that same olive oil in significantly, infinitely more permutations and combinations, that individual olive oil, even though nothing changed about the olive oil, they became way more usable for you. And that's true for every single thing that we do, is that as we keep getting larger, as we have more members in the store, and as we have more products in the store, each individual member's experience and each individual product's value keeps going up. Sorry, that's a real wonky concept. If you haven't figured it out by now, 2.5 years of listening to these things, I'm the wonky guy when it comes to supply chain, but that's what scale matters. It allows us to bring in higher quality products. It allows us to make them fairer price, bring them at fairer prices, and allows us to be a lot more ethical with our supply chain. Probably the last thing I would throw in, even density allows us to improve fulfillment. So if we have more customers in New York, or this is already true, so I'll pick another example. If we have more customers in Chicago, that means that we can profitably open up a distribution center in Chicago and get one-day delivery, same-day delivery into the city of Chicago. So that's why scale matters. Everything we care about is helped by scale, and all the problems we face become more solvable with scale. That's why scale matters. Here's where we're at right now. I am so incredibly proud of this. Our entire focus for the year 2020 was exclusively just getting the product right. To do that, we did not let in any new members, and we didn't do any marketing. Our marketing spend for the entire year of 2020 was $0. And we were exclusively focused on just adding new products. We felt at the time, and I think looking back, this was the right thing to do. We felt like the number one thing we needed to do was to build out a better catalog. We thought that was the most important thing. So that's what we focused on. And we found that that was going to be much easier if we didn't let in more members. Now that has changed. I no longer think that the most important goal for us is to keep launching new products. We are going to keep doing that, but that's not the central issue at Move right now. Now I think it's about growing it. Now it's about scale. February was our first month in trying to do that. All we did in February was for the very first time, we let in some more members. We did a couple of tests with this around October, November last year, but this was the first sort of dedicated effort to let in more members. And as a result, we are up 217% in February. This is a combination, I should be clear, this is a combination of more product sales. Product sales on their own are up about 100%. And then you layer on the membership growth because we did a membership drop and people were able to purchase memberships. That led to another 117% of growth. So we are up. We basically doubled, more than doubled in the month of February. And this was our first attempt at growth, something we're incredibly proud of. But again, this is just a test case in what we're about to talk about. Now, with February, with the example of February behind us, we're starting to think about, well, how do we get to the next level of scale? How do we keep unlocking the same type of growth month after month after month? So I want to go into that. There are a few tactics. A couple of them are what you would call marketing or just customer growth. And then there are other tactics that have more to do with the product. But let's get started. How do we get to the next level of scale? Now that we all agree, I hope we agree, I hope we've done a good job with this, that scale is what matters. Next piece of this is how do we unlock the next level of scale? First things first, and obviously is pretty straightforward, is that the wait list is the key to more scale. You might remember I went back and watched, this was incredibly painful to do, to watch videos of yourself talking, but I went back and watched the past 2 town halls and had to listen to my own voice for a couple hours. And one of the most remarkable things that I was so proud of my team for was how consistently we've executed and kind of how consistent we've been about the things that we care about. In the first town hall, I had introduced the concept of the waitlist. There was no waitlist before that, or at least we weren't talking about it that way. And we had just first introduced the concept of the waitlist. And I told you all that we had about 130,000 or so people on the waitlist. That number has since kept growing, obviously. And now it's at the point that we are now adding a new person to the waitlist about every 3 minutes, just over. And we did our very first membership drop in February, as I said, and that sold out in about 4 minutes. What that signals to me is that the idea of working on the product, trying to get that right, was the right approach. And also it signals, it's greater than just us, that the time has come for an online, vertically integrated supermarket like us. This is the time. There's enough interest. Might be crazy to believe that, but when I started working on this thing, that was, God, like 2016, 2017, when I first started working on this idea, it was still an ever-present question whether or not anybody would ever want this. People were investors, customers I would talk to were constantly asking me, oh, well, if I can't get Chobani or if I can't get my branded Diet Coke, would I really even want this thing? It seems archaic to say, but that was all the time I was getting that question. And I think that we are watching a departure happen in the market. There are a lot of factors at play. First of all, I think we've done a good job. That helps. But more importantly, I think the monopoly of these retailers and of these brands is completely falling apart. Campbell's Soup does not mean today what it meant 50 years ago. You could investigate that further. It has to do with the value of branding. Branding as a concept has really changed. It's not about Mad Men era. It's toasted cigarette ads. That's not the idea anymore. The idea now is much more about your values, your community, your actual logical proposition to the customer. That's what it's about. And so a lot of these old CPG brands, they just haven't updated at all their value props. And as a result, they're faltering. And that's allowed people like us to come in and fill the void. That is why we have a wait list of greater than 130,000 people now. And that is why the wait list will be the key to our scaling this year. Every single time we want to get to the next level of scale, the way we're going to get there is through the wait list. And you're going to keep hearing about this on future town halls. Now, that's one thing. That's let's call it that marketing. Now I want to talk about, again, in classic Move fashion, I have 5 points to talk about today. 1 of them is marketing, 4 of them are product. This is guided by both what you've asked about in the questions, but it's also guided by our own internal beliefs around what we think we need to accomplish to be a store that can serve all these 130,000 people. Because that store looks very different from what we are today. So we've created a list of 5 things. We've talked about the waitlist already, 4 more concepts that we think are important. That's how we build a store that can serve this many people. Number 1, we need to seriously redo our entire packaging system. I'll be the first to say this, and you're going to hear me say this for several of the other points. We have not done a good enough job with this. Our packaging is not good enough for the environment. At least it's too harmful for the environment. Our packaging it's too cumbersome for the customer. It has a whole bunch of problems. I will say it's not for lack of trying. This has been a top priority of mine, but the whole team's for a long time. We haven't been able to get there for one big reason, which is the coronavirus. That pretty much as soon as we launched, we got hit with 2 sides. On one side, the supply chain shut down for these products. It became incredibly hard immediately. Keep in mind, we launched February 12th, 2020. It's been exactly a year. And 2 weeks later, the coronavirus shut down the entire supply chain. So it became really hard to source packaging. And the other side of this was the UPS and FedEx started to have so many issues with their fulfillment. It went from, it used to be about like 2 to 3% of orders running late to became about 20 to 30% of orders running late. So we really had to significantly change what our packaging looked like. Anyway, enough excuses. The point is we have not done a good enough job with packaging. It can be more sustainable. It can be sustainable, I should say. It can be more sustainable. It can be way easier for the customer to deal with. And it's an added cost that we or the customer just simply does not have to bear. So we are redoing our entire packaging system. This will be in effect by the end of March. That's what we're estimating. Maybe it might take give or take a week or two. But the first milestone here is moving to be completely recyclable and compostable with all of our external packaging. What I mean by external packaging is anything that's not touching food. We've been doing a lot of research and we've scoured the earth trying to find the right suppliers for this. And finally, we've gotten to some really good partnerships. We are bringing in the world's very first paper-based thermal liner. So the thing that holds your perishable products is going to be entirely recyclable and quite possibly entirely compostable. And it's made out of just recycled paper, and it's really stitched together in this really great material. The bag that holds all of your non-perishable products, that's going to be entirely compostable. Every single bottle is going to be wrapped in this really interesting, that's what the picture is of. It's this amazing honeycomb material. It's paper cut in this really special way that basically does the job of bubble wrap. And it does it with paper. So, and on and on and on. Down to, I really am so excited about the amount of detail we've gone into. The tape that your boxes are closed with, that's going to be compostable. Your standard Scotch tape isn't. And this is going to be compostable. A shipping label, those are normally made out of a plastic-based material. That's going to be compostable. We have gone into an enormous amount of detail. We're going to begin rolling this out in March. We've placed orders with suppliers already. We're just waiting on receiving the products, and we're going to make everything entirely compostable and recyclable. So that's point number 2. Point number 1, waitlist. Point number 2, sustainable packaging system. Point number 3, our customer service is not good enough. This has been true for a while, but it has become especially true as we begin to scale up. And you're going to hear me talk about this more later on, so I won't take up too much time with this, but customer service is something that I would like us to be known for, not something that is tolerated at Move, and or tolerated by our customers. We have, again, spent a lot of time thinking through this and thinking about what it is, not just that makes Move's customer service, leaves Move's customer service with room for improvement, but what is it that makes overall, in general, customer service a fairly horrible experience, a fairly horrible thing to go through? And we've been thinking about this a lot, and we've come down to a few key points. And here's what we're doing with our customer service. Number 1, most customer service, including at Move up until this point, was outsourced. Outsourced in one way or the other. It might just be outsourced to another country, but in our case, it was outsourced to another company in America, but outsourced to another company. The people, personal shoppers, were all full-time employees of that company, and they only worked on our account, so they were essentially like full-time employees of our team. But they were in a different office. Their payroll is coming from a different person. All of that. It was a different satellite body. That's the first thing, and that's true for pretty much every e-commerce company that I know of. The second point is that it's built in a very defensive way. Customer service is built in a way where it is built to respond when things go wrong. So it is built as disaster relief, essentially. And despite us wanting to be different, I don't think our customer service was that different on those 2 points. It was outsourced, and it was still built as a defensive tool. And probably a third point, I would say, this is true for some companies, not for all. Usually customer service is way too complicated. I personally have nightmare stories with customer service. I'm sure everybody does. But one of the most annoying things, it's this very Kafka-esque experience where you get on the phone and you just like keep pressing numbers and then it just keeps, it's weird to be arguing with a machine or with an automated message, but that's what most customer service is nowadays. And all of those things were true for us. Multiple phone numbers, multiple emails. It's an outsourced team. It's, on and on and on. Just layer them on. So here's what we're doing. We are basically getting rid of the entire idea of customer service as it is traditionally understood. Firstly, we are bringing them in-house. So all people who work on Move customer service or work with Move members will be sitting with our team in the same office. So the benefit of that is that when you reach out and say, hey, I got my grass-fed brown butter and it wasn't refrigerated, is it supposed to be refrigerated? Instead of this person then quickly typing a message over to our team and then waiting for a response and yada, 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 they turn around and they ask the sourcing person sitting behind them, hey, is it supposed to be refrigerated? The answer is no, just to be clear. And then they get back and they can just respond to you immediately. These people, the people working on customer service, or we're now calling it member care, they're part of every single all hands call that we have. They're probably listening to this call. They're going to be involved in every single thing that's happening at Move. This is going into effect March 1st. So we have ended our contract with this outsourcing agency. We have moved it in-house, and it's going to be run by Dylan, who actually was working at that team before. He's actually also a WeFunder investor. And we've now worked with him for a year and a half. It's not the same Dylan as the personal shoppers, by the way. I've been told to clarify this. But he ran the team over there, and we just absolutely loved his work ethic, and we loved his dedication to building a community and to actually being of help. And so we asked him to join us, and he's going to be joining us full time. He's based on the East Coast. You're all going to hear from him a lot. Again, different Dylan, but you're going to hear from him a lot. His number one project, his number one task at Move is within the first 2 weeks to roll out our new customer service program, which we're calling Move Member Care. So number one, we're moving it in-house. It's going to be led by Dylan. Number two, instead of it being a defensive thing, it's going to be more proactive. That's why we're calling it member care as opposed to customer service, which is much more transaction related. It's much more focused on when things go wrong. Member care, the point is to be proactive. So an example of this would be that we have plugged into UPS's backend, and we are going to be studying every single order, every single Move order that's in the sky, on a plane, on a truck right now at this very moment. We're going to be studying it, and if it's going to run late, then we will reach out to you preemptively before it gets there late and say, hey, I'm just going to read out some of the names I'm seeing over here. Hey, Liam, hey, Nick, hey, Georgina, your order's about to run late. And, it's supposed to get there Monday. It's going to get there Tuesday. You should know this, so on and so forth. So that's point number two. Point one, it's in-house. Point two, it's proactive without being spammy. We're only ever going to get in touch with you about an order you've made. If you haven't made any orders, you will not hear from us. This is not personal shoppers. We are doing away with that system. It's meant to be just functional information. That's number two. And number three is we're just simplifying the whole thing. With personal shoppers and with multiple emails and multiple phone numbers, it's just too much. It's just too much to keep track of for you, for us, for Dylan, for everybody. So we're just going to get rid of all of it. It's going to be extremely simple. There's going to be one phone number. There is going to be one email. There will not be an automated message that says, for this, press 1, for this, press 2. None of that. You reach out and a real person talks to you and they tell you what you need to know, and then you can go on with your day. Dealing with Move customer service or dealing with any customer service should not be an activity that takes up any significant time. As far as customer service goes, the less interaction, the better. And that's what we're going to be focused on. So we're moving it in-house. We are making it proactive, not just defensive. And finally, we're just simplifying the whole thing. It's one email, it's one phone number. That's it. All right. We're introducing a new Move website. You've probably already seen this go live. There are just a lot more features that have not yet been released. And we are going to release a new version of the website. of the mobile app very soon. And both of these are going to focus on a couple of concepts. This, again, is based around the idea of what do we need to do to begin scaling up. That's the whole concept here. There are a few things that we're really focusing on with the new website, with the new mobile app. Firstly, more transparency. So we are adding, and you'll see this, if you go day by day, you will see this change on the website. It's being led by an incredible person on our team, McKenna, and she works directly with the producers, and she's adding extensive information every single day. And the primary goal over here, goal number one, is to add way more information for every product. We're calling it transparency. This includes producer information, includes nutritional information, includes ingredient information for every single product. And it's going to keep getting richer and richer. That's step one. Step two is supply chain breakdowns. This is something we promised for a while, have not been able to get it out as quickly as we thought, mostly because the information has been so difficult to document. But we've been doing it. We've quietly and competently been compiling all of this, and we're going to publish the full supply chain breakdown for every single product. You're going to be able to see how much money goes to the producer, how much goes to packaging, how much goes to move, all of that. That's number two. Number three, and this is step three of the process. This is sort of, these happen in chronological order. Number three is better stories around everything. So far we've just been focused. The first two steps are pretty focused on just adding basic sort of functional information. But step three over here is going to be focused on, all right, well, once we've taken care of the basic necessities that every product needs to have, let's now start to focus on telling you richer, deeper, better stories about everything. And that's being led at Move by a couple people, and a great person named Gabby and another person named Amanda. And what that's going to be, we're calling it Move Stories on the mobile app. On the very first tab, we haven't released this yet, but you're going to be able to read these really great in-depth stories, much more than what's available on the website, much more than what's available on the product pages. You're going to be able to read about the producer's story, the awards that they won, how they got started, much sort of deeper dives on the products, individual products, recipes, grocery lists. We're going to have some of our celebrity customers, celebrity investors come in and make their own grocery list and share that. And all of that's going to be housed on one page on the app. It's going to be called Stories. You're going to be able to read all of this stuff. So we're going to begin rolling that out too. And it's going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to start it off in March, but then we're going to be updating it basically daily going forward. So we're going to completely redo the shopping experience. And there's probably a lot more to be said about this. And I'm sure it's better seen than heard, all of this stuff. So when it comes out, you'll get a better sense for it. But I want to take a step back here and talk about why we're doing this, and how we see our place in this larger industry. It's kind of amazing to me how much Amazon's website sucks. And I think people mistake scale for quality. And as we're talking about scale, we're trying to make sure to not do that. Amazon's website is the norm. That doesn't mean it's right. It's kind of incredible that $1 trillion company has this website that's incredibly not intuitive. It doesn't inspire a lot of trust in the products that you're buying. It doesn't make you necessarily feel very good about the buying experience. It's kind of just getting your needs met is sort of what that website feels like. And this is not limited to just Amazon. That is true for nearly every e-commerce company that's come since. Is they've all taken that basic e-commerce structure and just replicated it over and over and over again. And I think that there's been a real lack of innovation on this front. For the designers who are probably here, it's amazing to me that e-commerce is not treated as a web product, as a web app. It's not even called that. E-commerce websites are just called e-commerce sites. They're not treated as web apps. They're not treated as something to be UX designed or to be UI designed. It just is seen as an entirely different category of thing. And that just doesn't make any sense to us. So one of the key attempts for us at Move is going to be to try to meaningfully change what it looks like to buy things online. And there are a few ways in which we're trying to do that. Number one, can we reduce the cognitive load of shopping online? There's a lot to that. Not selling all the brands, not selling every product, not selling products that we know are not good, only selling high quality products, only selling one brand, removing a lot of things. So we reduce the cognitive load of what does it look like to make a grocery list? That, of course, we're already doing. But also, can we make you feel better about these purchases? Can it feel like more than just going to the DMV and getting your, doing what you have to do? Can it be a more meaningful experience? And that's where things like stories come in. That's where the supply chain breakdowns come in. We would like for each of these purchases, each of these experiences to mean more to you. That is what the entire focus of this is we think that traditional e-commerce is not as good as it can be. The experience of buying things online is not as good as it can be. And we think we can make it better. And so that's what the attempt here is going to be. By the way, everything I'm mentioning, you will start to see progress in immediately. So all of these I'm talking about really with a focus on March. They will not be in their finished state in March, but you'll start to see major progress on all of these points as early as March, as early as next week. And then finally, I'm sure this is going to get some solitary applause in all of your screens. We are bringing the entire store back. Here's the deal. About a year ago, we made a decision that it was more important to build out the catalog than it was to keep everything in stock all of the time. I believe that was the right decision at the time. It is no longer the right decision for us. We have an extensive catalog. We've got 200 products. The average person is really only buying about 15 or 20 products in every order. So we've got enough depth in our catalog. Now it's about making the service much, much more consistent. We want to make it something you can really rely on. You can go back to week over week over week and keep making orders, keep reliably getting your groceries from Move. So the final point in scaling up, the final thing we think we need to accomplish to scale up is we need to bring the entire store back in stock. There have been some very good questions about this. You can see them on the WeFunder comment section. You can see them everywhere. There have been some really great questions about whether or not this can even be done. Are these two things even incongruous with each other? This idea of scaling up dramatically, scaling up as much as we have this month, 217%, does that even work with the concept of small producers making premium products and treating them very ethically? Do those two even go together? And I believe that they do. Of course, me believing it is just one thing. I think it's up to us to prove this. But we've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And we've spent a lot of time investigating other grocery supply chains around the world. And we've come to a couple of conclusions on how this can be done. The biggest point being vertical integration. There's a grocery chain in France that we've paid a lot of attention to called Picard. I think there are some French people here that they'll appreciate this. And we've looked at pretty much every grocery supply chain around the world. And Picard, what they've done, it's about a 110-year-old grocery chain. They're France's most popular grocery chain in that the people rate their experiences the highest. And we've been looking at what they've done right and how did they scale up, because they, like Move, are very focused. They're very minimal. So they only sell about 1,000 products, which for a physical retailer is very few. They only sell about 1,000 products. By contrast, Whole Foods in America sells 50,000. They only sell frozen products, no refrigerated, no shelf stable. The whole store is frozen. It's just like walking into one giant freezer. And most importantly, they work exclusively with very high-end award-winning producers. And they've been in business for 100 years, and they do, unfortunately, I only have the revenue number, even though it's the most meaningless number. They do about like $1 billion a year. So they're a big company. They've been able to scale this up. And their key is vertical integration. And in the case of Move, by moving this thing online, we're able to vertically integrate way more than any physical retailer like Picard ever could have. Their key is they do something that pretty much every grocery store chain in the world is so incredibly afraid to do. They actually take over their supply chain. So they work with these producers. They send them packaging. The producers put the product in Picard's packaging, send it over to a Picard processing center. Picard processes the products and then puts it directly in the stores, and that's it. And it's a very short supply chain. And Picard, what they say to producers is, hey, you know how to make great cheese? Make cheese. You're not in the business of sourcing packaging. You are not in the business of negotiating freight rates. You're not in the business of figuring out how to make your product ship well, all of those things. That's not what you're good at. You're good at making really good cheese. So keep making cheese. And we are going to do something very similar to that. We are beginning to vertically integrate our supply chain. This is something that has never been done in the United States, to my knowledge. Trader Joe's kind of gets close, but not really. I mean, they just kind of stick their labels on things. They don't actually get involved. This has never been done in the United States, and even outside, it's really only been done by a couple of retailers, Picard being one. We are beginning to vertically integrate. We've got this great base of suppliers, a lot of whom, by the way, are scaling up month over month just because of Move. We are an outsized portion of their revenue already. Just a year in, we have several suppliers who have doubled their team, who've doubled their spaces just because they began working with Move. So it's really meaningful. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take over the parts of the supply chain that are better done by an aggregator like us. For example, we can go out, if we simplify our packaging system, and we go out and negotiate packaging on behalf of all of our suppliers, all hundreds of our suppliers, we can get much better rates. We have distribution centers. We can hold that packaging. We can distribute it to our suppliers. We can go out, and if we standardize the type of packaging machine, we can buy that in bulk and supply it to all of our suppliers. By doing all of this, we have our suppliers focus on what they're good at. Our tamale supplier, for example, used to feed the entire Warrior Stadium a couple miles from where I am right now. She can make a lot of tamales, and she can make them really well. What she is not very good at, and nor should she be good at, is how you then ship these tamales. How do you package them? Which supplier to work with in Japan to get those specific type of biodegradable plastic bags or biodegradable bags? How do you do these things? That's what she's not good at. How do you get a freight rate? She's never had to do these things. And what we're going to do now is we're not going to let a single one of our producers go. We will work with our producers, scale them up. We are not going to replace our producers with mass producing giants. That is not what Move is all about. The point is, can we help these producers grow? And we're going to take over the parts of the business. We are already taking over the parts of the business that they're not good at and letting them really focus on what they are good at. So, and there are a couple of things that work to our benefit here. Obviously, being that we are already significantly vertically integrated. We only sell one brand of products. So when our tamales producer, Alicia, she is the only person making tamales for Move nationwide. I'm sure you've heard me say this example. 100 people walk into Whole Foods and buy tamales nationwide. Those are coming from 20 to 30 different producers all over the country. And the average producer is really only getting about 4 to 5 orders. 100 people log on to Move and buy tamales. That's all coming from one producer. So what that means is that we can really focus our attention. We don't have to figure out a way to scale up thousands of producers. We have to figure out a way to scale up dozens or at most hundreds of producers. And that's a really meaningful difference. We're driving much more density through each supply chain, and we can really work with each producer to scale them up. So we are bringing the entire store back. What this will look like to you, you got the very first one of these emails this week. Every week you're going to get an email and you're going to get a push notification. And it's going to say, this many products are back in stock. The store is now this % in stock. The last one said 22 products are back in stock. The store is now, I believe it was 83% in stock. Next week will be more, and we'll keep going like that. So we're going to keep you up to date on all of this. But just so you know, this is what's going on in the back end. Now, what does all of that add up to? And just to recap, we talked about why scale matters, what scale allows us to do. Talked about how we get to scale, which is through the waitlist. We get to scale through a new customer service program, Move Member Care. We get to scale by bringing the whole store back in stock. We get to scale with a brand new website and mobile app, or at least an improved website and mobile app. And now that all of that is in place, now we can really start to talk about what scale gets us. All of that for us, this is how we've been talking about it internally. All of that adds up to what we're calling Move 2.0. 2020 was Move 1.0. That to me was a beta test, and it was supposed to be a proof of concept. At least looking back, it was. We proved that this model of online grocery with a limited SKU base, with impeccable quality, sold at the fairest prices possible, that works, that can scale nationwide. Keep in mind, there are grocery delivery companies out there that have been in business for 20 years and soaked up hundreds of millions of dollars of investor money and never made it out of one city. We are nationwide. We were nationwide on day one. That this idea that you could take these premium products that would Move, all of a sudden it wouldn't matter where in the country you were, you could still get bread baked by a Michelin star baker, or you could still get meals, Indian food made by a Michelin star restaurant. That was the concept, that this thing works, it can scale up profitably, can scale up without burning through billions and billions of dollars of investor money, and then it could really be a product that a lot of people love. All of that said, it was just a proof of concept. Now we are really coming into our own. I see 2021 as our coming of age moment. This is when we move into the next phase of this company. We're calling it Move 2.0. And I see two parallel axes of development, one being more members and the other one being more products. Really simple. In 2021, we are going to add 10 new aisles to the store. In addition to launching a new product every week, which you know as Sunday Drops, we are now also going to launch a new category or a new aisle every single month. These are products different from grocery. This is basically an entire store like grocery every single month. And it's all included in the exact same membership fee. Your membership fee will never go up. It's the same membership fee, and that gets you access to new categories every single month. That is the first axis of development. The second axis is more members. More members mean more buying power. More buying power means better products, means fairer prices. It means faster delivery. It means better packaging. It means everything. So in 2021, you will see two major movements from us. And I believe I wrote this in our letter right after the campaign ended too. The two major trends you can expect from Move in 2021 are going to be 10 new aisles, basically a new aisle every month starting in March, and 20,000 more members. For context, we currently have just over 5,000 members. We're going to take that from 5,000 to 25,000 by the end of this year. That's the plan. Let's get into it. This is, I should address this. This is obviously really big news. We have not talked much about this. It's been a very quiet program inside Move, both of these, but we're really, really, really proud of the work. I'm really proud of the work that the team has been doing on this, and the kinds of things you're about to see in these coming slides and the kinds of things you're about to see coming from us over the next, whatever is left, 10 months, is really radical stuff. I think this is at the forefront of e-commerce. It's at the forefront of retail. It is going to meaningfully transform what it means to be a Move member. And what I would like for all of this to culminate in by the end of this year is I would like to be able to offer people a clear alternative to going out and getting an Amazon Prime membership. Basically, the choice we want to be able to lay out in front of customers is, look, you can go out and get a Prime membership or some equivalent. Doesn't really matter. I have nothing against Amazon, by the way. It's just an easy punching bag here. You can go out and get a Prime membership or a Costco membership or whatever, or you could get a Move membership. And you should get a Move membership if you're the kind of person that cares about quality, but doesn't believe in paying extreme premiums for the brands. And if you're the kind of person that cares about ethics and cares about knowing for a fact that those ethics are in place at every step of the supply chain, so cares about transparency and cares about simplicity. Simplicity just being that, you think that the whole shtick of having millions of brands and 50,000 products in a store is a little crazy and doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're the type of person that likes to see one logo on your shelves, if you're the type of person that likes to see a consistent aesthetic, consistent design philosophy, then Move is the membership for you. So by the end of this year, by adding 20,000 new members and by adding 10 new aisles, we would like for Move to be a clear choice. We want it to be a clear contender as a membership program, that this is one of the programs you can sign up for. If you care about these values, this is really the best place for you to go. Now, I'm about to show you something. This is not finalized, and this will change, but I want to give you a sense for what this is going to look like. The same way in which, please don't pay much attention to the examples down here. I promise you that they've been placed there intentionally to be misleading and to give you the wrong idea. They are not meant to give you any sense for what's actually going to happen. Over the next 10 months, there will be a new aisle launched every single month. This is in addition to a new product being launched every single week. This is in addition to the Sunday drops. There are a lot of categories we are looking at right now. Some of them are listed over here. There's about 4 times as many total categories that we're looking at. We're calling them aisles. They will all live as we start to launch them. They'll all live on the website. They'll be at the top, and you'll be able to see them. Just right now, you can see grocery, bulk, and bath. You'll be able to see bedding and office and kitchenware and all that stuff. Here's the pitch. Here's how we're introducing every single one of these categories. It's the exact same appeal, regardless of what we're selling. We're going to come in and say, here you go. Here are ceramics. Here's kitchenware made by the exact same manufacturer, exact same 50-year-old Japanese artisan shop that makes all of the porcelain for Muji, makes all the porcelain for West Elm, makes all the porcelain for whoever. And here is the receipt. To make this many units of porcelain, it costs us, let's say, whatever, $50,000. This is the receipt. We will publish that. And here is the price you pay. The exact same price that the supplier charges us. No markups at all. We make our money on memberships. We make our money are incentivized to keep adding more members and to keep getting more people excited about Move. We are not trying to make our money on products. And if anything, trying to make money on products moves in the opposite direction of trying to make money on memberships. So our goal over here, if we want to keep doing better as a business, we want to make a product the members love and keep more members keep signing up for. And the way we do that is, here's porcelain made by the same craftsman that makes all the porcelain for Muji. Muji charges a 2x markup for this. We are selling it to you at cost. So you will see exactly who the manufacturer is, exactly how much they charge us, and that is the exact price that you will be paying. We will not add a markup to any one of these products. If you love Move, buy more product, tell more people about it, more members sign up, and we can keep launching more categories. What we are not going to try to do is to make a living based on some plates. That's not what we do. We already don't do that, and we will never start doing that. We will make our money by being a great store that a lot of people want to sign up for, that 135,000 people would sign up for a wait list for. That's how we make our money. And we are going to do this for category after category after category in 2021. All the while, of course, still growing out the grocery category. There's a lot more to be said about this. The one thing I want to say before I move on, that really will be said in about 10 emails that you're going to get, probably more throughout the year. But the one thing I want to mention here is we brought on this new head of supply chain, William, who more than likely is listening to this call, also a WeFunder investor. I got in touch with him through our last WeFunder campaign. And William has done truly incredible work in his life in supply chain, helping build out the manufacturing and supply chain for companies like Levi's, companies like Uniqlo, helping them bring on ethically made, high quality products at the fairest prices possible. That's the kind of work that William has done. He's worked with a number of e-commerce companies, worked with a number of the largest brands in America, around the world, and he's joining us full-time now. He's an investor, just like all of you are, and now he's a full-time team member, and he is working concurrently on bringing on all of these categories. And every single day, William wakes up and looks at a new category and says, all right, who are the people doing really meaningful work in this? Let's talk to them. Let's get on the phone with these manufacturers. Let's talk to the craftsmen. We are talking to manufacturers in Japan, Turkey, Italy, China, India, the United States, obviously. We're talking to manufacturers all over the world. And the exclusive focus is, the pitch we're making to all of them is the exact same, which is we want to bring your products. We want you to be the only furniture supplier, the only porcelain supplier on Move. And we will sell your products transparently and without a markup directly to this member base that really likes us in America. So that is going to be how we start to source these. And I just want to give a shout out to William, who's doing this really important work of building an ethical, high quality supply chain. Now, as we said, there are two parts to Move 2.0, 10 new aisles, and number two, 20,000 more members. There's a very simple way to track this. We are trying to double our member base every quarter. We are on track to do that in the first quarter of this year. By the end of March, we will have twice as many members as we did on January 1st. And we're going to keep doing that. Fortunately for us, this does not involve a lot of marketing. We might be doing a little bit of marketing to keep people engaged and to make sure they don't forget about us. But really, it's just a membership job. I know you've all seen these, and there are going to be more of these going forward. Every membership job, we're just going back and calculating how many members do we need to add this time to keep doubling. And you won't get all the membership drops, just to be clear. So you're probably only seeing 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 membership drops that are actually happening. But they're going on. There's a lot of segmentation going on. We send it to people based on when they joined the wait list. We want to give people seniority if you joined earlier, that kind of thing. But there are going to be membership drops every single month, and they're always going to be tied to the category launches. So we're going to be absolutely clear about what's going on. You probably saw this in the last membership drop. We came in and said, we want to launch a new category. To do that, we need to let in X members, and membership is now open for the next 4 minutes just to make that happen, or however long it took. That's going to be our approach for every single thing. It's going to be absolutely transparent. And it makes sense, I think, to a lot of people because we're being very clear and honest about the fact that we make our money on membership. So if we need to launch a new category, we need more members. And we're just going to come out and say that every single time to this ever-growing wait list that's growing every 90 seconds, every 190 seconds, come back to them and say, we want to launch this new category. If you'd like to make that happen, buy a membership, costs $95, and get people to join. So those are the two axes of development at Move in 2021. This is what you can expect. This is what scale is going to bring for us. Just to recap, we talked about why scale matters. We talked about how we're getting to scale, which had 5 points in it that I'm going to forget now, but it was wait list, better customer service, which we call Move Member Care, a better packaging system, bringing the whole store back in stock, and something else that I do not remember right now. These calls, a better web experience. Man, these things are long. So that's how we're getting to scale. And then what scale unlocks for us is more members and more products. So that is scale. Now, all of this is going to cost money, not surprisingly. We have been incredibly conservative with raising money so far. Historically, if you compare us to similar companies, there have not been a lot of independent e-commerce companies started in the last couple decades. But e-commerce companies tend to take the same approach every time, which is get flush with cash as quickly as you can, fill up a lot of money, and then burn through it, and then try to go and raise again. That's, in certain cases, effective, but for the most part, I think it's a failed strategy. So we've taken a very different approach to it, but we've really tried to tie it to clear milestones that we're trying to accomplish, clear product and revenue milestones that we're trying to accomplish with every single fundraise. I was thinking, because we had fully tapped out what the SEC allows us to raise every year, I thought SEC allows us to raise from the crowd every year. I was convinced that this year I was going to have to go out to make these things possible. I was going to go out and raise a venture capital round. And that might still happen. But then a few weeks ago, the SEC came around with this new law. They have updated the restrictions for crowdfunding, for equity crowdfunding, the kind of campaign that we did with our WeFunder. Up until now, you were allowed to raise just over $1 million from the crowd, which is what we've done. We've raised over $1 million. But the SEC recently changed these rules and said, now you're allowed to raise up to $5 million directly from the crowd. That is not a small amount of money. And that is more than what we need to accomplish everything that I've listed out over here. So these laws go into effect on March 15th. And I got a call from the WeFunder team last Friday. And they said, hey, Chai, we're really excited for this opportunity. And we want a couple of campaigns that have done well on Move so far, on WeFunder so far, to launch with us on March 15th. We know that you weren't planning to launch a crowdfunding campaign for a while, but we think it's a good idea for you to get this out there and see where it goes. And I said, I'm in. We have been very, very, very bullish on the idea. We've been in love with the idea of equity crowdfunding, of being community owned, the first community owned national retailer. We've been really into this idea for a very long time. We love the idea. Today at Move, our owners, more than half of the funding we've ever raised has come from the crowd, number one. Number two, the owners include people who work in our warehouses, to people who work in our new customer service team, to people who drive UPS trucks, people who deliver packages for us. Everyone includes our producers, includes our packaging suppliers, includes everyone. I love the idea of being community owned. And it's not just an emotional thing. I think practically it just makes so much sense for a company like us to be community owned, because the owners of the company can actually help grow the company. If you own a piece of Move and you're a Move member, you can help Move just by making more orders. And similarly, if you're a Move supplier and you own a piece of Move, you can help Move just by supplying it better costs. So we love the idea of community ownership. And the SEC last week dropped this gift in our lap and said, hey, you can now raise up to $5 million. So on March 15th, we are going to be launching our third equity crowdfunding campaign. I'll be the first to say this. This is going to be a rough one. We were not expecting to launch this. Take a look at the news. I mean, the updated laws just went into effect, or they just got passed. So we didn't even know that this was going to be a possibility. We thought we were all tapped out on equity crowdfunding. And that's what we communicated in the last few updates. We'd said, hey, this is it. It's probably not going to be any more. But things have changed. Things have changed just in the last couple of weeks. So I am so beyond excited to do this. March 15th, we're going to be launching our third equity crowdfunding campaign with a goal of raising $5 million directly from the crowd. As always, the goal is to get, unlike other campaigns, there are a lot of people, they'll set a minimum of $25,000 investment or whatever, which to me defeats the whole purpose of being an equity crowdfunding campaign. Our minimums are going to be low. Every investment will come with a membership, and every membership comes with a say in how the company works. It comes with calls like this. It comes with Grocery by Democracy. It comes with actual voting on everything that happens. I am just so excited for it. And I want to kind of just end this point by mentioning a quick example here. And I'm stealing this example from someone on the WeFunder team, Johnny, who's just a great thinker on these things. He told me once, he said, there's this guy, he invested about $25,000 in Facebook when Facebook was just starting off. And then when Facebook went public, his $25,000 were worth $125 million. Imagine if he had instead raised, if Facebook had instead raised $1,000 each from 25 different people. All of those people would now have $5 million each. That's exactly it. That is exactly the point. We are all confused by how inequality keeps getting worse and worse and worse, It's easier to become a billionaire than it's ever been, and it's harder to become a millionaire than it's ever been. Here's why: because the rules have historically been stacked against smaller investors, against retail investors. More than half of Americans aren't in the stock market, and most Americans do not have access. Unless you're making over $200,000 a year and have over $1 million in assets, accredited. Unless you're accredited, you can't even invest in startups. You couldn't up until now. What that meant was that the opportunity to make these outsized returns was reserved exclusively for people who were already really wealthy. What kind of bananas law is that? That just doesn't make any sense. Sure, I get the desire to protect retail investors because they might not have the same bargaining power and they might not have the same access to information. I get that. But there are ways to accomplish that without keeping people out of the game, without keeping these outsized returns from people. And I think the SEC, I am very happy with this law. I think most people should be. I think this is a step in the right direction. What they've done now is they have very strong laws in place, by the way. Historically, to launch, you might not know this is where a WeFunder campaign is very different from a Kickstarter campaign. To launch the WeFunder campaign, we went through rigorous vetting by the SEC. We have to file every campaign with the SEC. Every year, we file a new update with the SEC. All of our financials, month by month, are reviewed by a CPA and then also get filed with the SEC. And of course, that's not even including the vetting that WeFunder does, and then you get to do. All of our financials are publicly posted. But to raise $5 million, we actually need to get audited. This is not just us, for everyone. To raise this $5 million campaign, you need to go out and get fully audited. And there's just a lot of investigation and everything. And every legal investigation, all of that needs to happen. I'm not afraid at all. I'm pretty confident we'll pass all of that. But they put these safeguards in place to protect retail investors, and then they're letting anyone invest, which is exactly how it should be. Once we've made sure that scamsters and fake campaigns can't get on, then let's open it up to everyone. Then what's the point of keeping it to just a few people? And that's exactly what the SEC has done. I could not be more excited for this new law. And most importantly, I could not be more excited to be the first e-commerce company, the first retailer, national retailer, to be funded entirely by the crowd. So this is so meaningful. It is perfectly in keeping with how every single other one of our values is laid out. So I'm very, very proud of this. And you're going to see a campaign from us in about 2 weeks. Calls to action. You might remember this from our second town hall. As always, share, engage, and back. Let me say this very clearly. If you are not in a position to invest, don't invest. That's fine. Please do not feel like we'll keep coming back to the crowd. You can invest in the next one. Don't worry about it. If you can invest. That's what backing is. But that's not the only way to help move. I would love for you to share the campaign, talk about us to your friends, wherever you can get this out, and engage with us. This might be hard to believe, but I love doing calls like this. I am loving the comment stream I'm seeing coming in right now. This is my favorite thing about this job. And especially now, because we're all just working from home and it's just all kind of cooped up. I don't even get to see my team anymore. So especially in these cases, I love your engagement. Send us your opinions, send us your ideas, email me, comment on our WeFunder campaign, join these calls, whatever you can do. So back us if you can, engage. I know everybody can engage, so do that. I know everybody has ideas for us, put those in and share us wherever possible. So that is how you can help out. Now we're going to move into the second part of this, which is questions. I've got a few sort of FAQs laid out over here. I'm going to check the comment stream real quick, and if we have questions over there, I think it's more important to answer those. And then I can also go through the FAQs in a second. But sorry, folks, I'm having a bit of an issue with my comment stream pulling this up. Seems to be some kind of glitch. All right, there you go. All right, we've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to move through these. Normally we move through the FAQs, but I'm going to try to, we're going to give priority to these. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comment stream, and I'm going to try to move through as many as I possibly can. Just going to give everybody a second here. All right, there's a whole bunch to move through. So I'm going to get started here. If I can't get to your questions, here's what I'm going to do. I will post, I will try to reply to them in comments when we post this video, when we post a video of this campaign, of this town hall. I'll try to, in the comments, I'll try to call out the questions that we got and the ones that aren't repetitive, and I'll try to answer them. All right, let's see. Neil asks, I've been frequently requesting nutrition information on a number of items and they haven't been added. The shawarma and the new Indian dishes come to mind. Why are some things missing their nutrition info? There's a very simple reason. Most of the producers we work with, a lot of them are restaurants, smaller producers. Getting nutritional information is actually quite an expensive process for these places. And if you're not selling in retail, it just doesn't make sense to undertake that expense. So it's hard to get sort of verifiable, accurate nutritional information. You actually need to send it to a lab for testing. That is why a lot of these products don't have it. But the way we're swapping that is going back to the idea of vertical integration. We are paying for these things. We are going to pay to have our products checked and get the nutritional information up. So by the end of March, you should see nutritional information for every single product. That's the answer for Neil. Michael asks, I remember you mentioning the use of FedEx with a special 1 or 2 day shipping. Today you mentioned UPS. Does that mean Move is using both FedEx and UPS now? So actually we've moved over almost entirely to UPS. We were just struggling a lot with FedEx. Peak COVID times, FedEx's on-time rate was about 80%. UPS's was about 95%. UPS came in with a very competitive offer. We liked them. The best part is that they have an integrated network. So express and ground boxes travel on the same trucks. That makes life a lot easier for us, for our warehouses. So we're actually moving over entirely to UPS. I have a problem. James says, I have a problem with my Move account. With my account, who do I contact to Move? You should email hi@shopmove.co. And if that doesn't work for you, I'll give you Dylan's email too. It's Dylan I'm sorry, that's personal shopper Dylan. It's Dylan Foreman, Forman @shopmove.co. Reach out to Dylan also. Fiona asks, will the store have a search option for allergen-free, such as dairy-free? Yeah, we're adding it. So you actually already see this when you go to a collection. Let's say you go to the breakfast collection, you will actually be able to already filter by this, but we're adding this across the board. Jonathan says, now that the limit has increased in the next crowdfunding opportunity, will we be able to combine the previous rewards with future funding? Yes, you will be able to. Rob says, a suggestion for a new supplier. Thanks for sending that over, Rob. If you could actually send that over, also, sorry to make you do more work, but I really want to check them out. If you could send it over to hi@shopmove, that'll, again, they sit with our team now, and so they're part of the team, and so we'll get that over to the supply chain team. We'll start looking at it. Grant asks, why are you doing another round of crowdfunding? You've been saying for a while that you have a wait list of 130,000. Presumably willing to pay a membership fee. So why wouldn't you just accept however many new customers you want to total the amount of money that you want to raise? This could be as much as $95 times 130,000, which is about $12 million, just over that. That's a great question. And yeah, I'm glad that you asked that one, Grant. The difference is that by doing crowdfunding, we get to have a little bit more control over demand, as opposed to if we just let everybody in. What that does is, let's just talk through the example of letting up. Oh, by the way, we are doing both. Just to be clear, we're doing both in parallel. They're just going towards different things. So as I was saying, we're doing a new membership drop every month. We're planning to let in 25,000 new members by the end of this year, and we're trying to double every quarter, which is very aggressive. That basically means that our suppliers the supplier that makes meals for us, makes Indian meals for us, needs to make twice as many next month or in 3 months as they're making today. So that's where we are letting people in at the most aggressive pace possible. We're trying to grow by 20 to 40% month over month. So we're already doing that. But in parallel to that, what a crowdfunding campaign does for us is it allows us to sort of jump up in scale without all of the logistical challenges of letting in more members. So, for example, when we did, let's just take the example of these two campaigns, right? Let's say we need $5 million of free cash flow to launch new categories or whatever we need to do. If we let in members, that looks like what is it? 50,000 more members, right? So we would have to let in 50,000 more members, which is a pretty huge operational challenge. But if you look at the numbers from our most recent crowdfunding campaign, we raised about over $600,000, and that was from about 600 investors. And in total, it's about like $1.2 million and about 1,200 investors, 1,300 investors. So in crowdfunding, the conversion is, it's one person is bringing in about $1,000. And that's exactly what we need that means that the operational challenge is much less, but we get to bring in larger sums that we can invest, and then we can use that to let in more people off the wait list. So the short answer is we are doing both. And by doing them in parallel, we can kind of play them off of each other. But to raise $5 million, for example, just quick math is on crowdfunding would be 50,000 people. Would be 5,000 people. But in by letting in just members would be 50,000. So that's a major difference. Ken asks, is there going to be a replay video? Yeah, we're going to try to post a replay video. And at the very least, we're going to be posting highlights. Let's see. Faye says, distribution seems to be a key bottleneck that could lead to regrettable churn, and uses as an example, late, wrong shipments, stuff like that. What are your thoughts on how to alleviate this? You're right on. This is a problem, and it continues to be a problem as we scale up. I would say quickly, I don't mean to make an excuse, but I just want to sort of like put the context on this. There hasn't really been an independent, there've been very few rather, independent companies that are shipping food nationwide over the last few years. There's been grocery delivery, which is limited and operates off of a different model. There hasn't been that much in terms of national, companies that operate their own distribution centers and ship out all over the country. That's a pretty rare thing. I can count on one hand the companies that have done it in the last couple decades. So it's a tough one. And what that means is that often we are developing our own practices, and we are developing our own software, and we're developing our own, we're making our own mistakes and having our own lessons. So that's kind of the challenge. But what that looks like for us now is we've got a year of shipping experience under our belt, and we've learned a lot from it. We know where things break. And so now what we're doing, a couple of key updates that I want to tell you about. Firstly, we are adding software to every step in the warehouse process. Right now, as you probably know by looking at the orders, it's done by hand. It's incredibly prone to human error. And that's why we have human error. People take a paper packing slip and they go around and they pick the whole thing. Now what we're moving to is, and we've developed software in-house for this. Starting March, it's completely digital in both distribution centers. You got an iPod Touch or something like that as a warehouse employee. You're walking around, you can see the whole order. It's all done digitally. What that means is, of course, there's less human error, and it's done with barcode scanners. But more importantly, this is the piece that we had to accomplish. It's tied to the new Move member care piece. So when an order is going to ship with an item that is out of stock, which again is caused by the fact that this is a new type of company, is a new type of supply chain, trying to take small premium producers and scale them nationally. It's a new thing. So you have issues where some products often go out of stock unexpectedly, things like that. So when something like that happens, and that's a unique scenario to a company like us, the customer is automatically updated. And the customer knows that that's going to happen. And the supplier is automatically updated, and they can start working on a fresh batch. So there's a lot more to talk about there, but that's layer one, is that it's all digitized. Layer 2 is just increasing transparency on what is actually going on. I think one of the funnier things that I encountered when we started to ship out was people would often get mad at us, very understandably, about problems with their orders. But they seem to think that we broke the glass bottle and then put a broken bottle in and sent it out. That obviously was not the case. We pack things as nicely as we can. We really try to put it all together, and then we ship it out. And UPS is basically, or FedEx, and not to malign one of them, you should see how drivers are treating the boxes. They're like shooting 3-pointers with our boxes. And this is not just a problem that we deal with. This is anyone that ships products online is dealing with this problem. If we were operating our own trucks and if we were a local delivery service, we wouldn't have that problem. But we're trying out this new thing of taking premium product and shipping them. So we were dealing with a lot of these issues, and people would get mad at us as if, and again, totally understandable, they would get mad at us as if we were doing this on purpose. Mistakes are not malice. And so one big thing we're going to do to make this more trackable is that we're going to take a picture of every box before we ship it out. So you will get that picture and a confirmation. This is, by the way, this is still in the works, so I don't have a timeline for this yet. But you're going to get a picture of the box as it's shipping out. And you can see that everything is in there, and you can see where it was placed. So that when something breaks, we know, okay, this is something that went wrong with UPS, and then we can all go in and track it and get you a refund from UPS and do all of that. There's a lot more to go into over here. The key point I would emphasize is what we do is surprisingly new in this world. There are very few food companies that are operating their own distribution centers and shipping nationally and selling their own products. It's a very, very, very rare thing. Even some huge companies that you might not expect are actually working off of third-party distribution centers. And even though that works out better in the short term, it gets in the way of building a truly huge company. So we are doing things differently. That's what makes a lot of this harder. We've gotten things under. There's been significant improvement. It used to be when we launched, unbelievable as it is, but about 25% of orders were getting something broken in them. Now we've been able to bring that down to under, I think it's about, like last I checked, it was about like 3% or so, which is very much within the realm of normal. Now it's, that's what Amazon sees and things like that. So we have issues. Most of them stem from things being totally new and us figuring it out every day. But we're getting a lot better at it. And the key parts are technology and transparency. Sorry, I took very long on that answer. Let's see, where did it go? Sorry, it keep coming in on the top side. It's hard to find where I was. Jerry asked, what about stories on the website? Yeah, they're going to be posted there too. We basically have 3 websites now: shopmove.co, then members.shopmove.co for members, and then waitlist.shopmove.co for the waitlist. So these stories are going to be posted on shopmove.co, so both members and non-members can see them. Faye asked a question about how about Move Member Care as a product. I'm not sure I understand that one, but if you could clarify, I could try to answer that. Let's see. All right, a bunch more have come in. Where/when will we see upcoming Move distribution centers? So we've got 2 right now. This is Michael asked this question. We've got one in San Francisco. We've got one in New Jersey. And we are going to be opening up right outside of New York. We're going to be opening up a 3rd one. We're looking at either Chicago or Dallas right now. Let's see. Long-term electric Move delivery vehicles. Yeah, I would love to do that. I think the key to that is we just need to get to a place of density where we have distribution centers and we have cities with a lot of customers in them. That's when we can start to operate our own fleet. Megan asks, seeing a lot of negative user experiences and accounts popping up on Instagram. Are you aware of this, and how are you addressing it? Not encouraging as a customer who has had many issues myself, and certainly not as an investor. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, for the most part, we are aware of these. I mean, it's hard to say when I'm not aware, right? But we're aware of these. I think our approach has been, still our approach, always will be, is to focus exclusively on solving the problems and not engage with if it's a customer that's reaching out to our customer service and asking for an issue to be resolved, then yeah, we're trying to engage, and that's what the Move member care thing is about. But for the most part, and we made this decision early on, what we do is an insanely hard fulfillment operation, as I was just talking about with Faye's point. It's very hard to do what we do, and we're getting better at it every day. And so our focus exclusively is, and we understand, I should also say, I understand that if we're going to be growing at 217%, which to your point, Megan, how should you think about this as an investor? You should see this as growing pains, because that's what it is. Every day we ship more orders than we did the day before. So as a result, let's say 1% of all customers, or let's say it's more, let's say it's 2% of all customers that come in contact with us have a negative experience, and as a result want to post about it online. Well, quite simply, there are going to be twice as many of those people every 3 months, even if those percentages stay the same. So, these are growing pains. I do not know if this is what I used to do for a living before this. I do not know if a single company that scaled up at the pace that we're trying to scale up and did what we're trying to do and did not have that. I will never go out and try to stop anyone from posting about it. I do think that our channels are our own. So our Instagram or something like that, that's our own. We totally choose what we post on those channels, and similarly, people choose what they post on theirs. So yeah, they should go ahead and post whatever they want. Our focus is, the way to get solutions from us is to reach out to us with specific problems, and we're going to be working our butts off to solve them. So yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively focused on solving the problems, and not really that interested in having a common thread fight with anyone. And that's true for my entire team. So we pay attention to these. We try to find problems to solve, and that results in meetings in town halls like this where I get to talk about them. But that's how we really treat it. We don't really we try to not to get go into try not to get into an online battle. And also, very important to say, we had a big meeting about this early in the year before we start to scale up. I sat the whole team down and I said, look, this is going to happen. We are going to start scaling up, and we are going to get more pushback, because every day we're doing something we've never done before. Every day it's a new number of orders that we've never shipped before, and we're figuring this out. That is what makes us an exciting investment as a company. But that is also what leads to, if we were all content with saying, let's stay this size forever, you would never have another order issue. That's just a reality. What makes us a good investment is the same thing that leads to these issues. So I sat the whole team down and I said, look, here's our key, is we're going to focus on the problems, and we are going to try to solve them as best we can. And we are going to never have contempt for the people that are, or anger for the people that are posting these things. These are people who gave us a chance and want us to do well. So we're going to pay attention to it. But we only have so much time. We only have so much mental energy, emotional energy. And we're going to focus on solving problems, not on arguing with anyone. So that's what I would say about that. I don't know. I hope that answers the question, but I don't know if it is. Rob's, I already answered that one. Any thoughts on distribution of pharmaceuticals, Michael asks. Yeah, absolutely. One of our investors is the largest distributor of pharmaceuticals on the East Coast. We've been talking to them for a while for this. There's just a lot of regulation to jump through, but yeah, absolutely. John says negative talk is still free marketing. Sure, I like the positive way of looking at it. Liam says, will you upload nutritional data into the USDA nutrition database? Yeah, working on it. Once we've compiled it all, that's what we're going to do. What kind of volume capacity? Robert asked, what kind of volume capacity do you need from a supplier in order to bring them into your supply chain? We start small. What we really need is the ability to grow, not huge orders on day one. So we can start as little as like 200 items a week, 200 units a week, but you really need to be able to scale that up, and you can basically calculate what that looks like based off of the growth rate we're looking at. So if we're looking at doubling every 2 to 3 months, then that's going to keep increasing pretty rapidly. Let's see. Oof. Oh man, I'm nearly out of time. Jonathan says, can you try to add pre-made smoothies and pre-made breakfast items? Working on it, absolutely. We're trying to work with our produce suppliers, see if they can do this for us. Let's see. I think I've answered a lot of these now. I know there are a lot more. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. But let's see if we have anything in these FAQs that my team had compiled beforehand. And if there's anything that hasn't been answered, I hope I've answered this. Why raise another equity crowdfunding round? Are you concerned about small suppliers being able to scale up? Yeah, concerned about it, or aware of the challenges, but not scared by it. I think we can do it. How will you balance fulfillment quality with rapid growth, technology and transparency? Why launch new categories when grocery is not yet finished? Those are not mutually exclusive things to me. I think we can keep growing the grocery category with Sunday Drops, which has been one of the most effective things we've done at Move, but also keep launching new categories. And those two play off of each other. The more products you can buy from Move, the better each product gets, as we talked about. How do you ensure high quality and ethics for new aisles? By bringing somebody like William on, and through absolute radical transparency about every single producer, publishing the name of the producer, publishing a picture, publishing the receipt. That. How is Move pricing new categories? At cost. So we don't add any markups to these categories. That's how we do it. We will show you what the product costs, and that's what we will give it to you for. Why still have a wait list? As I mentioned, it's I was mentioning this, I think, to Megan's question too. What we do is very new and it's very difficult. It requires, just to lay this example out fully, and I don't know how many, I'll try to keep it quick. What makes the Move model difficult is there are a lot of companies out there that sell a lot of different products, like Amazon, Jet.com, they come to mind. They sell a lot of different products. But then they have very little to do with those individual products. They don't, Amazon doesn't control the packaging. The Kraft singles come in, it's handled by Kraft. And then there are a lot of companies that sell very few products and are very deeply involved in the production of each of these products. Move is a unique company that does both. Move sells a lot of products and is deeply involved in the production of every single product. That is a lot of work. And that is not more than a lot of work, it's very precarious work, because some supplier has one person in their warehouse that can't make it, and all of a sudden the delivery of an entire aisle is delayed. That's what makes Move challenging. That's also what, by the way, what makes Move a very lucrative business and a good investment opportunity, I believe. That's why I'm spending my life doing this, is that control of both the width and depth of the catalog is what makes Move so special. That's one side. So the supply chain is very difficult. But on the other side, you've got demand. And for a company like us that's done well, you've got this huge demand coming in. The essential challenge of Move, we are tap dancing on a tightrope every single day, is making sure that the demand and the supply meet up. And the wait list is the most essential, powerful tool we found to do that. That is answer number one. It allows us to preserve the customer experience. If we get rid of the wait list, we could have days where everything goes out of stock, and then other days when it comes back, that kind of thing. So up until, by the way, we're working to get rid of the wait list. It's kind of like training wheels, and we can take them off once we figure out this model that no one else has figured out before. But once we get there, we can take the wait list away. That's number one. But number two, and this is I'm talking to the investors here now, it is single-handedly the greatest customer acquisition tool we've ever seen. We spend almost nothing building up the wait list. And customers are lining up at the door to get in. I mean, what could ever be better for a business is to not have to pay at all to acquire more customers. And that's a very, 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 very special thing. So that's why we have a wait list. It helps us balance supply and demand. And it also is the single most cost-effective way of adding new customers. Why not hire more aggressively? We have a philosophy at Move. We honestly, forget the philosophy for a second. The reality is, for every dollar that comes into our bank account, we have to make a decision. This is true for every business, but it's especially true for us. Do we use that to acquire more members? Do we use that to bring the store back in stock? Do we use that to launch new products? Or do we launch that to build out the internal team? And we have decided up until now that the priority has pretty much always been something other than building out the internal team. We're a very small team. And that continues to be the case. Right now, the priority is add new products. Right now, the priority is bring products back in stock, add more members. That's a priority. That's number one. But second, as a point of culture, I and we really love the idea of being a small, very nimble, lean team. I've always been obsessed with small teams that punch way above their weight class, I think. And by the way, this doesn't include folks that are packing orders. It doesn't include the customer service team. Those are roles that need to grow linearly with scale. So as you have more customers, you need more people in the distribution centers. You need more customer service folks. But the core part of the team, the sourcing, the marketing, the operations, all of that, that really, we have this concept we talk about a lot at Move about basically this 20-person team. We think a lot about being a 20-person team and how that for us is this kind of magical number in which you have people that really own their part of the business and they've got their own team of like a couple of key people working on it. And you just don't have the same kind of friction and the same kind of annoying meetings that nobody wants to be on, just the same kind of like process, bureaucracy, all of that stuff. You could just be really lean, focus on talk to the right people, solve the problems and kind of move on. So both from a practical standpoint and also from a standpoint of what's fun to work on, we're a very lean team. So that's how I think about that. Why not raise venture capital? We're not opposed to it. As I was saying, we were planning to raise it this year anyway, and we have some really great investors, which I should always mention. For anyone that's considering investing, keep in mind, we're not just a crowdfunding company. We have everyone from the San Francisco 49ers, Joe Montana, and Y Combinator. They've all vetted us and decided to invest in us. So we have raised a significant VC, and we have we have all the Silicon Valley pedigree. You can imagine, I dropped out of Berkeley. So as far as sort of the list of Silicon Valley isms go, we're right at the top. So we are going to raise venture capital, but again, I think both ethically and practically, it makes every dollar brought in from crowdfunding is worth a lot more than every dollar brought in through venture capital. When I bring in $5 million from venture capital, that's great. That's money we can spend to buy products and market. But when I bring in $5 million from crowdfunding, the marketing's already done. And we can use all of that to improve the product, improve the service. What is Move's exit plan? I'm actually seeing that one of the most recent questions from Jonathan is, do you have a timeline for going public? Yeah, the exit plan is to go public. We're not really interested in getting acquired. I think Move does very well. It's my prediction is Move does very well as a standalone public company. And we've talked about this in past town halls because of the membership model, because it builds this monogamous relationship with customers, because of the private label, because we're building a brand, because of just so many different reasons. But Move does much better as a public company. A timeline for going public is hard to predict. My guess from looking at similar companies like Wayfair comes to mind, Zappos comes to mind. There again haven't been that many e-commerce companies more of late. My guess is that that's a 5-year project, and yeah, that would be it's absolutely the dream. That going public, and I think, by the way, one of the reasons we're doing so much crowdfunding is because we eventually want to go public. We wanted these calls. I don't know if you could tell, but they're meant to be a template for what a Move earnings call might look like a few years from now. So we're very much trying to build that discipline. We're trying to build that cadence. We're working relationship with the SEC. That's not something a lot of young companies have to do. We deal with a lot of these things so that we can one day go public and do well as a public company. My guess is the timeline is something like 5 years. And then finally, and I will end with this. Thank you so much. Man, this is always the hardest part because I try to cram in so many thank yous within like a couple of minutes. But I'll start this with a confession. Every single time, I think somebody had asked, am I aware of negative feedback when it pops up? Do I see it when it pops up? not only do I see it, I feel it in my stomach. When a customer reaches out to me, and I've been, by my own decision, I've been very visible as the founder of Move. People often will email me directly. Even when I don't get to respond, I've seen it and I've felt it. And it's a very visceral, I mean, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs, but I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs in our investor base, so I'm sure you will all relate to this. Nothing really quite compares to the feeling of having a customer that's unhappy reach out to you and tell you that they are disappointed in the service or tell you that they had a bad experience. Nothing really is quite the same kind of sucker punch as negative feedback. And there's pretty much no way to get out of it. When you are like me, I do not do any angel investing. I don't think if you were looking for it, I don't do any advising. I do this. I don't have multiple companies. I work on one company. I work on it every single day for the past 5 years of my life. So, when something goes wrong, it feels very viscerally as if you have messed up. It doesn't feel like something far off, someone else messed up. Everything feels like a straight dagger through the heart when somebody's pasta sauce jar breaks in an order. That feels like my pasta sauce, 1,000 of my pasta sauce jars broke. So it's an incredibly emotionally, and we are we play full contact football at this company. What we are doing is just think about all the companies in your life and think about how many individual times you're interacting with them, right? Move is probably at the very top of that because you're making regular orders. We're not like a clothing brand or something you buy from us once and forget about us for 6 months. We're people buying regularly, and people are getting these orders with multiple items in them. There's so many places where something could go wrong. And the other side, there's so many suppliers making these products and all that. And we have people in the warehouse, and I've got this team that I care about more than any other group of people in the world. There's a lot that can go wrong, and a lot does go wrong very often. And the only two things that I have found have ever been able to get me out of that funk, number one, the work, just getting back into it and working on the next drop, trying to do as good a job as possible, being like, all right, a lot of pasta sauce bottles broke. Let's figure out how we can stop that, and let's talk to every single packaging supplier in the world, and let's try to find better packaging. The work pulls me out of it, and the only other thing that pulls me out of it is you all. And this is of course, a selective audience. These are people who signed up to listen to me talk for an hour and 39 minutes. So clearly, you care a lot about this company. Man, I could list, and I recognize a lot of your names, by the way. I could list this forever and ever and ever, but for every bad message that we get, I get 5 positive messages. And that's not me trying to pretend like we have way more. I mean, it is true. We're growing very fast. So clearly we're doing more right than wrong. And we're growing profitably. So, more right than wrong. But every single time I get a negative thing, I have 5 customers, a lot of whose names I recognize over here, reach out to me and say, hey, Chai, my wife tried the hand lotion and she loved it, and I'm so proud of you. And somebody else reaching out saying, hey, I tried this cookie recently, and you guys would really fit great on Move. I mean, I cannot tell you, like, every single negative, whatever that does to me, I think, and does to my team emotionally, puts me in that direction. These messages, like 10 times over, bring us back. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, it really puts everything in context. It makes you realize, okay, that was a pothole and this is Mount Everest. Whatever the little road bump was it's so small compared to like people really loving us and people buying from us all the time and people, supporting us. It's still one of the great personal accomplishments in my life is that when we launched the crowdfunding campaign, we did not spend a single dollar in advertising, and it was all Move customers who put in $1 million. That is an insanely amazing thing. People have been using it for a year. They had the same issues that you've had, that anyone's had. They're not unique customers. We didn't give them a special service. They used it, but they believed in it, they understood it, and they showed up. And that means the entire world to me. And I know it means the entire world to my team. So Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for existing. Maybe a weird thing for a founder to say, I love every single person that has ever bought anything from Move or has ever invested in one of our campaigns. I love you all. Thank you so much. And yeah, this video will be made available. Thanks again.